Okay, Crookes tube water well experiment. It's a glass vial with an anode and a cathode and a copper water well in between, which is evacuated to anywhere between, now my memory ain't that great, but it's between 5 to the negative power of 8 to 10 times 5 to the negative power of 6. I do believe that's the correct equation. Between those two evacuated spaces, if you add an electron to the subatomic particles, it gives the subatomic particles mass. Okay, now F equals ma, force equals mass and acceleration. Acceleration comes from the anode and the cathode, where the electrical current flows. When you're charging subatomic particles and the particles flow on that current, it gives a F. Therefore, what Newton said was correct, F equals ma. So, what I'm proposing is that it's possible to create a turbine that creates vacuum, and when you create that vacuum, you have a sort of dynamic where you have the vacuated space, then therefore you add between the anode and the cathode, and what I believe is if you have the cathode as, or the earth, because we all understand how electricity works, where negative is actually the power and the cathode, the positive charge, is the receiver. But it depends how you look at it, because we're in a positive atmosphere, and when you're in a positive atmosphere, things get turned on its head. But in a negative atmosphere, the anode, the negative charge, is the positive, or is the power charge, and the positive, so therefore, if the cathode was receiving the electrical charge, and the charged subatomic particles were creating F, and the cathode was the turbine, and then you have the anode, which is passing electricity, charging the subatomic particles, causing force. Okay, now apparently, as far as I'm aware, this is energy mass equivalence versus Einstein's tensor, which is 2 times Einstein. The man was not just a genius, but I would say he would be something in the equivalence of Jesus Christ, brother, or something like that. That man is so great. Not to mention Euclid, because if we didn't have XY axis, which is just the crossover between mathematics and physics, and then Newton, because Newton said F equals ma. Force equals mass and acceleration. Well, we have force because mass comes from charged subatomic particles, and acceleration comes from the anode and the cathode and the flow of electricity. Therefore, if all those constants are in place, you cannot, it is indisputable, you cannot deny the fact that if you create vacuum, charged subatomic particles between the anode and the cathode, you must have force. Therefore, if you have vacuum of space and electricity, you can create energy, because negative mass at the speed of light equals energy over gravity equals mass at the speed of light squared, which basically says exactly what I've just said, which is the basic calculation for how this will work. And I do believe in this day and age, with the technology available, we can take those experiments done 100 years ago by J.J. Thomson and Professor Richard Crookes, who discovered the Crookes tube water well experiment, that we can create energy for Zippo. Well, actually I say Zippo, but I say 90%. You might need to make 10% to create the extra, make up the little bit of, because of the conservative laws of energy, because of a lot of different aspects of what's occurring here. basic constants fit into place, and the variables are such that you can, in fact, create energy from nothing, from the vacuum of space charging subatomic particles, and that will equal force, which is mass acceleration, which is what we have. And so therefore the internal subatomic expansion engine is a viable entity. There is no dispute whatsoever about that. The mathematics equate. So I put it out to you, NASA. I've been talking to you and I've contacted you, and Uncle Sam wants you. A better Earth, a better people, a better life. Thank you very much. Elvis had left the building.